Capitola Black Recordings is pleased to present an unabridged recording of The Carved Cupboard by Amy Lefevre.
Chapter 2. 4 Verses.
In preparing a guide to immortality, Infinite Wisdom gave not a dictionary, nor a grammar, but a Bible, a book of heavenly doctrine, but withal of earthly adaptation. J. Hamilton.
The old woman looked through her glasses at her 4 nurslings with a loving eye. Then she said very quietly,
I have been hearing all about your plans, Miss Agatha, and I'm thinking you have shown your wisdom in keeping a home together. Forgive my plain speaking. I know 'tis an age for young ladies to make homes for themselves anywhere and everywhere, but unless a woman is married, 'tis a risky undertaking. I've been inclined to fret that my working days are over, for dearly would I like to have gone with you, and done what I could to make you comfortable, but 'tis the Lord's will, and my age and helplessness doesn't prevent me from praying for y'all. You have the same psalm in your mind, Miss Agatha, that I have been reading and studying this afternoon. I would dearly like to give you each a verse out of it, if you won't take offense. We're in for one of Nannie's preaches,
said Gwen, laughing as she placed a large print Bible before her old nurse.
But we shan't have an opportunity for many more, so we promise to be attentive. Aye, dear Miss Gwen, it isn't a preach. How often you come up here to have a cup of tea to refresh your bodies, and 'tis a bit of refreshment to your souls that I'm now making so bold as to offer.
Nannie turned over the pages of her beloved Bible with a reverent hand, and then she looked across at Agatha.
My dear Miss Agatha, there are 4 verses here with a command and a promise. I would like to give you each one to think of, through all the troubles and trials that may come to you. Will you mark it in your own Bibles and live it out, remembering it was Nannie's verse for you, so that when I'm dead and gone, you may still have the comfort and teaching of it?
Agatha was touched by the old woman's solemn earnestness.
Yes, Nannie, give it to me, and I will try to put it into practice.
Nannie's voice rang out in the dusky, firelit room as she repeated, more from memory than by sight,
Trust in the Lord and do good. So shall thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Thank you, Nannie,
said Agatha after a pause.
I will look it up and remember it. Now mine, please,
said Gwen, looking over the old woman's shoulder.
Is it the next verse for me? No, my dear, I think not. It seems to me that this must be the Lord's word to you. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass.
You have given me that because you think I like choosing my own way through life now, haven't you?
Maybe I have. Choosing your own ways and going in them always brings trouble in the end. Now, Miss Clare, your verse is the beginning of the one Miss Agatha was saying. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. And Miss Elfie, this is for you. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart.
And I am the only one who has a command without a promise,
said Clare reproachfully. Nannie looked at Clare, then at her big Bible again.
You have a promise further on, Miss Clare. Those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth.
Ah, Nannie, that is too big a promise to realize. If it was to inherit Dane Hall now.
My dear, since you were a little wee child, you have always been looking for something big. You will inherit more from God Almighty, if you wait for him, than ever you could inherit without him.
There was silence for a few minutes. Then Gwen said, trying to speak lightly,
We shan't forget your verses, Nannie, and though I'm afraid none of us will ever grow into such a saint as yourself, it won't be for want of an example before us.
Now, may we turn to business? Jacob has gone, and we must bestir ourselves. I have cut out an advertisement from the Morning Post, which I think sounds tempting. And as Agatha seems so slow in making up her mind, I think I shall take the train tomorrow morning and go and inspect the place myself. Doesn't it sound as if it ought to suit us?
To let, an old-fashioned cottage residence, 4 bedrooms, 2 attics, 3 reception rooms, well-stocked fruit and vegetable garden. Owner called abroad suddenly. Will let on reasonable terms.
Where is it?
asked Elfie.
Hampshire. I wrote to the agent who advertises, and he said the rent would be about £40. It is close to some pine woods and only 3 miles from a town. It sounds nice, I think. At any rate, it is worth seeing about.
Do you like old-fashioned cottage residences?
Said Clare very dubiously.
They always remind me of rotten floors, rats and mice, and damp, musty rooms.
I hate modern villas.
Retorted Gwen.
With grimcrack walls and smoky chimneys and bad drainage. This has an old-world sound.
Let us, if we live out of town, choose an Arcadia, with nothing to remind us of the overcrowded suburbs.
Are you willing I should go, Agatha, and come back and report the land? Yes.
Said Agatha.
Better you should do it than I. For what suits you will suit me. But what would suit me might not suit you. We will talk it over when you come back.
And so it was settled, and after an early breakfast next day, Gwen started on her quest.
She did not come back till between 7 and 8 o'clock in the evening, and seemed so tired that Agatha insisted upon her eating a good dinner before she gave an account of herself.
Then, rested and refreshed, she came into the drawing-room and settled herself in a comfortable chair by the fire to give her experiences.
I really think it will do,
she began.
I arrived at the station about 12 o'clock and walked out the 3 miles to see what the country was like. Brambleton is a clean, empty little town with no one in the street but a few tottering old men and children, a few good shops, and there is a market every Friday. I walked along the high road for a couple of miles, then turned up a lane with a ragged piece of common at the end of it, past 1 or 2 nice houses standing back in their own grounds, a little country church with parsonage adjoining in the orthodox fashion, a cluster of thatched cottages, and finally came to the cottage residence. Is it in a village street?
Asked Agatha.
No, not exactly. It is in a side road leading to a farm. It is a low white house with a great box hedge hiding it from the road and a stone-flagged path leading up to the door. A blue trellis veranda runs right around it, which I rather liked, and a row of straw beehives in front delighted me. There was an old woman in charge who showed me all over and talked unceasingly.
Now describe the rooms exactly,
said Elfie eagerly.
And did the house smell musty and damp?
No, I shouldn't say it was at all damp. Of course, rooms that have been shut up always seem fusty and close.
It is a little place. You must not think the rooms are anything like this. On one side of the door is a long, low room, the width of the house, with a window at each end. On the other side of the passage there are 2 smaller rooms. The kitchens, etc., lie out at the back, and the stairs go up in the middle of the passage. 4 fair-sized bedrooms are above, and the 2 attics are quite habitable. The back of the house has the best view. It overlooks a hill with a cluster of pines and woods in the distance. Fields are round it, but the back garden has a good high brick wall, with plenty of fruit trees, and all laid out as a kitchen garden. The front piece is in grass, with a dear old elm in the corner. I don't like the sound of the box hedge,
said Agatha thoughtfully.
It seems so shut in and very lonely, I should say.
Of course, we shall not have many passers-by, except the carters to and from the farm. But if you are in the country, what can you expect?
We can cut down the hedge. I like the place myself, and it is in good repair, for the owner has only just left it. I must tell you about him, for there is quite a story about him. Old Mrs. Tucker was his cook. He is an eccentric widower, and has a brother with a lot of property in the neighborhood. He spends his time in carving, painting, and writing about old manuscripts. That is one thing you will like, Clare. All the doors and cupboards in the house are carved most beautifully, even the low window sills and mantelpieces. About 4 months ago, he had a dreadful quarrel with his brother, and told Mrs. Tucker that he was going abroad till his temper cooled. He stored all his furniture and said he would let the house, but only to a yearly tenant, as he might wish to return again. That is the disadvantage of the house. But I think he will not be in a hurry to return. There is an old carved cupboard built into the wall in the room which was his study, and this he has left locked, and wishes any tenant to understand that it is not to be opened. They take the house under this condition.
A Bluebeard's cupboard,
said Clare delightedly.
Why, this is the most interesting. I am longing to take the house now.
That is indeed a woman's speech, said a voice behind her, and a tall, broad-shouldered man laid his hand gently on her shoulder. Clare turned round with a pretty pink color in her cheeks.
Oh, Hugh, is it you? Come and sit down and hear about the cottage we meditate taking. Gwen is our business man, and seems to have found just the place we wanted.
Captain Knox took a seat by his betrothed, and was soon hearing about it all. Then, after it was discussed afresh, and he agreed that it might prove suitable, the other girls slipped away to the inner drawing-room, and left the young couple alone. Clare's wistful dreaminess had vanished now, and she was bright and animated. "I believe you girls are rejoicing in your sudden downfall," said Captain Knox at length.
I hear no moans now over your lost fortunes. It is the outside world that is pitying you. Those poor girls, I hear on all sides. After the very marked way in which old Miss Dane told everybody that they would be heiresses at her death. It is most incomprehensible.
It is no laughing matter, Hugh,
said Clare gravely.
We are going to try and make the best of it, but when we think of James, our blood boils.
Well, darling, you will never know actual want. That is my comfort. How I wish I could offer you a home now, but I have been advised so strongly to go on with this party that I feel I ought not to refuse. It will only be a matter of 6 months, I hope, and then I shall take you away from your country retreat altogether.
I sometimes wish...
Clare stopped. Well, what?
I was going to say I wish you were not in the army, but that is wrong. I do so much prefer a settled home to the incessant change in the service.
Captain Knox's brows clouded a little, for he was a keen soldier, and was devoted to his corps, which was the Royal Engineers. But Clare, I have heard you say before that you do not care for a gay town life, nor a quiet country one. So what do you like?
I don't know what I like,
she said, laughing.
Generally, it is what I haven't got. Don't mind my grumblings. I shall be so tired of the country and the dull monotony of it all by the time you come back, that I shall fly to you with open arms and entreat you to take me to the very midst of garrison gaiety.
Captain Knox smiled, though he still looked perplexed. Clare's moods and contradictions of humor were inexplicable to a man of his frank, straightforward nature. Yet she was so sweetly penitent after a fit of discontent, and so delightful in her waywardness, that he only loved her the more, and found, as so many others do, that woman is a problem that few masculine brains can solve.
Whilst the two lovebirds were enjoying their tete-a-tete, Elfie had crept upstairs to see Nannie, and a gravity had settled on her usually sunny face as she entered her nurse's room.
"Have you come for a chat, Miss Elfie?"
inquired the old woman, brightening at the sight of her.
Yes, Nannie, I have been thinking over my verse that you gave me. I can't get it out of my head. It is a very lovely one, but very difficult to practice, I should think.
"Why, surely no, my dear. And for you, 'tis easier than most."
That is because I always say I find it easy to be happy. But, Nannie, delighting oneself in the Lord is a very different thing.
Aye, but the lark that rises with his song, and the flowers that turn their faces to the sun, or soft, refreshing showers, don't find it difficult to delight themselves in the air and sunshine. I think, Miss Elfie, You are one of the Lord's dear children, are you not?
Elfie's face flushed. Then sitting down in a low chair, she rested her head against Nannie's knees.
Yes,
She said softly.
I told you how different everything had been with me when last I was home, Nannie. That German governess was such a help to me. But what I feel is this. I enjoy everything in life so. It all seems so bright and sunny to me that I feel the pleasure I take in everything may be such a snare. I ought to have my enjoyment in the Lord apart from it all. And I sometimes ask myself if I could be happy shut up in a prison cell, away from all I love, and I almost think I couldn't.
Nannie smiled.
You are a foolish child. Do you think the Lord loves to put his children in miserable circumstances and keep them there? Your youth and your gladness and your hopes are all gifts from him. He loves to see us happy. Doesn't the sun and the brightness and all the lovely bits of nature come straight from him? He didn't make London with its smoke and fog and misery. 'Tis us who have done that.
But I like London.
Put in Elfie.
I love the shops and the people and the bustle, and at first I didn't like the idea of the country at all, but now I am beginning to.
Wherever you may be, Miss Elfie, delight yourself in your surroundings, unless they be sinful. But be sure of this, you can delight yourself in the Lord in the midst of it all, and have no need to separate him from all your innocent joys. Doesn't your verse say as much? Will the Lord take all that is pleasant away from you, if you do his command? No, he will give thee the desires of thine heart. Could you want more proof of his love? You may later on in life have another lesson to learn, but 'twill come easier then, and you'll be able to say with Habakkuk, although everything else fails, yet I will rejoice in the Lord.
Elfie was silent. Then she got up and kissed her old nurse.
You're an old saint. You always do me such a world of good. I think you have given me the best verse of them all, and I will try to make it my motto. Now I must go. I only ran up to have a peep at you.
Thank you for listening to Capitola Black Recordings. I hope you have enjoyed this unabridged recording of The Carved Cupboard by Amy Lefevre.